everyone, the question for today is what is a nested loop join in SQL Server? So it is a physical join. So it is not used by the users to write in their SQL queries. And these are the algorithms that are used to implement the logical joins. And this is the icon that you see in the execution plan when the nested loop is used inside the SQL Server. So here is the overview. So whenever you write your SQL query which are using your joins, the SQL Server engine uses these physical joins, any of this. It might use nested loops, merge join, or the hash match join to implement your logical join. So here in our video, we're going to see what happens when the SQL Server engine chooses nested loops to implement our join functionality. So let's take an example of two tables, which is the department table and the employee table, and we'll write a SQL query using an inner join and matching it on the department number. So what happens here is the nested loop is similar to having two for loops. So what it means is for every record in this table, it's going to find a record in the other table based on that condition. So here it checks department 1 matches to row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So here in the nested loop, we have a concept called as inner and outer tables that are involved, wherein the smaller table is called as the outer table and the bigger table is called the inner table. So here when you whenever you execute your query, you in the execution plan, you see this table here. Whatever you see here, or the table that you see here, like the employee table, is called as the out table and the other one is called the inner table. We'll take a look at this one in a bit. So let's take an example with some data in it and see how the nested loop works. So here we have the foreign key with the department number between the department table and the employee table. Now if we take the first row, it's going to check with the rows in the employee table if it matches or not. It does not match here. It goes to the next row. It matches. So it puts that output in our output table. And then it goes to the next row. It does not match. And it matches on Mike Smith. And then it's going to add that data into our output table. Then it goes again and it does not match. And now what happens? It goes to the second row in this table and then again does the same thing. It's going to see if it's a match. If it's a match, it's going to add, which is John Smith for chemistry. And then is it a match? No, 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 and no. So we had only John Smith that was matching, and that is added into our output table. Now it's going to go to the third row here and then again check with all the rows in the employee table. Now Jeff Walker is a match and David Raymond is a match, so those two rows are added to our output table. So this is how the nested loop works, and let's check out a demo on that. Here is my SSMS server and I'm going to SSMS, and I'm going to run the same query that I had on this presentation, and it gave me this result set that we saw. Now I want to see where is my execution plan so that I can see if it's using the nested loop or not. That was the estimated execution plan that I clicked. So let's click on the actual execution plan and then run it. So this is my actual execution plan, which shows me the outer table and the inner table. But if you see, I told you that the outer table is the smaller table and the inner table is the bigger table. But here our department is the smaller table, right? But why is the uh, why is the employee table appearing here as the outer table? Because uh, because here if you see the estimated number of rows read, it says 5, and here also the number of rows read says it's 5. So uh, SQL Server internally is deciding any one of the table to be the inner and the outer table, but uh, but for but I don't know why exactly it's doing this, because if I run this cross join, here and check the execution plan, you see the department table is the outer table and the employee table is the inner table. So if you check here on the department table, you see the number of rows read equals 3, which is right, and then here the number of rows read equals 15. So uh, so I I do not know why SQL Server is acting that way, but in most of the videos that I saw of other people explaining, they had specific queries that would show this kind of an output, but uh, I did not find an exact explanation as to why we see this kind of execution plan where the employee has more number of records and it's considered as the a outer table. But for our understanding, we have we know that we know how the nested loop works. So let's go back and see what the highlights of the nested loop are. So the outer theoretically the outer table has less number of rows compared to the inner table, and this is good for small data inputs. Why? Because imagine if we had 1 million rows in table 1 and 1 million rows in table 2. Each row has to go one loop in 1 million times every single time, right? And that's going to take a lot of time, and it does not use memory or tempdb, and this does not require the data to be in sorting order. So here if you see, this data is not sorted, 202, 201, 203, so there is random data. So that is about the nested loop in SQL Server. Hope you understood what it is and have a nice day. Thank you.